Get started?
Yep.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. It is August 4th. I'm your president, Ashley Sullivan, and we will open with the flag. We will have 10 seconds of respectful silence to open our meeting. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Owen Johnson, who will be giving a reflection.
There's the story of a 3-year-old boy who imagines that he's always been part of his parents' lives. He can't imagine a world where he doesn't exist. It's really the same with us. Too often we think our understanding of an event or idea is the understanding. It is very often, however, that with humility, I know that what I struggle to explain clearly in my writing won't necessarily be how my writing is read. 7 or 8 years ago, my life went off the tracks. I made some bad decisions, and the repercussions blew a big hole in my life and in the lives of others. Without realizing it, I started drinking to erase the pain. I would later be diagnosed with PTSD from those events. For several years, I struggled to get back my life. I share that information only so you will understand what comes next. I was finally able to recover after a month-long stay at a hospital in Ohio. There were about 80 of us there, focused on fixing our lives and managing our diseases. I wish I had never made the mistakes I did, and deeply regret hurting the people I did. But that month might have been the best month of my life. We were cut off from the world. No phones, no computers, no newspapers. There was television, but most people didn't want to watch the news. We tried to learn that we could not change the past, so we should focus on crafting a future that would help ourselves and also help others. We were from all walks of life, Black people and white people, men and women. I shared my story, and other people shared their stories. I heard what it was like to grow up in an abusive household, to be in an abusive relationship, to live on the street, to sell one's body, to feed an addiction. I knew some people that had no choice after they left the hospital, but to return to the bad environment where they had come from. People who had no job to go back to and no money. I heard about people who had lost their home because of their addiction. People who had watched a partner die from an overdose and overdose themselves. I had one roommate whose mouth was partially eaten away from meth, another who had spent time in prison on numerous occasions. I couldn't be inside my friends' minds, but I understood them after that month much better. And because I was able to make myself vulnerable, they came to understand me better. They understood that we were all there for the same reason. We listened a lot. I often think about that experience when I think about George Floyd. We now understand much better how hard it is for people of color in this land. We have learned from Jim Sims how hard it has been for him to make his way. My dream is that we all could find people who are not like us, open ourselves fully to them, and they to us, just as my friends and I did to each other. We not only need to increase our diversity within the club, and thanks to Raj for starting that effort, but we must get to know much better the people in our community who do not look like us and who have not had access to all the benefits so many of us have.
Thank you so much, Owen. Beautiful reflection. Thank you for sharing. Now, we would like to introduce any guests we have with us today. So Jim Bright, would you introduce any visiting Rotarians and guests that you recognize?
Thank you, President Ashley. I see Liz Grenad is back with us today. Liz, so good to have you back.
Also, I see a name or two on here I don't believe I know or don't recognize. Other guests who are visiting us today, feel free to speak up and introduce yourselves, or any other members who have a guest with them today.
Uh, Jim, I invited my colleague Betta DeWeese to join us, and she's online.
Great. Betta, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good to have you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Leslie. Anybody else? Okay, back to you, President Ashley.
Okay, well, welcome to everyone who's here today. And if it is your first time, I hope that you will return. We have a bit of housekeeping. Thank you to our producers, Alon Barker and Michael Shermis, as always. And our roundabout reporter for this week is Jim Bright. Birthdays, we have Bill Perkins on August 2nd and Lauren Snyder on August 9th. And several membership anniversaries. Mike Baker, 28 years. Kate Crookshank, 5 years. Bill Oates, 32 years, 2 years in our club. Liz Irwin, 7 years. Glenn Steenberger, 9 years, and 7 of those years in our club. Steve Engel, 9 years, 8 in our club. And Megan Neese, 4 years. Thank you so much for your service, and we hope that we have many, many years ahead. Some Rotarians in the news. Ron and Mary Jensen were married in August of 1955, and their family is inviting you to celebrate with them. They will be having a drive-by celebration in the First Presbyterian Church parking lot on Saturday, August 15th. You can drive through any time between 6 and 7, and the invitation with their beautiful wedding photo will be printed in the roundabout for you to see. Congratulations to Ron and Mary. Yay, 65 years. That is quite the accomplishment. Another note, we have each year the Ernie Pyle Legacy Foundation celebrates National Ernie Pyle Day on August 3rd, which was yesterday, Ernie's birthday, to honor his outstanding achievements and expertise in journalism. Our very own Owen Johnson participated in a video tribute that was aired yesterday on the 120th anniversary of Pyle's birthday. So happy birthday, Ernie, and we'll have a link to that video you can check out. It's a very, very nice tribute, and I hope you will watch. As we observed a few minutes ago, we will be observing a few seconds of silence at the opening of our meetings in lieu of the pledge until the club can be surveyed adequately for our next move with that. The survey concerning the pledge will be distributed this week to everyone with a deadline of Tuesday, August 11th. Please weigh in on your opinion. All will be considered. And also remember to fill out the committee sign up. We have lots of folks that indicated their position so far. Thank you for completing that. Please continue to sign up. We have spots available in every committee at this point. And I'll be checking in if I don't hear from you to confirm whether or not you want to remain on the committee you're on if I don't hear from you in the next week. So thank you for everyone signing up for those. Volunteering service spotlights. We will be offering at least one volunteering opportunity every month. It's going really well so far. Our first month is out of the way. We're in August now. We have 4 opportunities. So Helping Hands is always available. The link to sign up and the phone number is in the roundabout. Our community kitchen spots for August 7th and 21st filled very quickly. I've added a new shift for Friday, August 14th, and there's one available spot for Friday, August 28th. The sign up is the same one that went out, but it'll go again in the roundabout this week. Friends of Lake Monroe, as we heard from Sherry Mitchell-Brooker last week, there are a few opportunities available to help with their services. So you can go to their website and sign up for the Fall Sampling Blitz on September 18th, shoreline trash pickup, and lots of other opportunities. So check that out. And Teachers Warehouse always needs help Monday through Friday. You can volunteer by emailing volunteers@teacherswarehouse.org. And there's also ways to continue supporting their supply drive blitz. Those will be in the roundabout once again, but you can pick up materials at Staples or at the Jackson Creek Kroger. You can deliver supplies to their location. You can make a cash donation. You can shop online. There's so many ways to help. So please consider supporting Teachers Warehouse in these ways during the next week. It is time. We moved really fast through that. I apologize if I'm talking too fast. It's time for Happy Dollars. So there will be a link in the chat that you can donate your happy dollars to Teachers Warehouse. Just another way to support this great program. And who's first?
My apologies to everybody. I need to find the link, so it might be
Okay.
here in a little while.
We'll get it. I think we have enough to be happy about. We can wait for a minute. Michael Shermis.
Yes, I'd like to give a couple happy dollars to, and I'm like moving forward to show you my very cool looking buttons that were delivered to me yesterday by a Life Design employee. And I'm sure Brandy probably will mention this, but they do buttons and you can send in money to get your buttons. And I was really happy to be able to support them. So there we go.
Awesome.
I'd like to give 20 happy dollars today for my grandson who committed to Indiana State last week to play football there in the 2021 season. So we're proud of him, and it was a nice article in the Herald Times about him.
Congrats. I can't see everyone on the same screen, so if you have something, oh, I see Connie.
I do. It's Connie. Hi. I want to give 5 happy dollars because I just found a fabulous podcast. It's the Rotary Club podcast. And I didn't even know it existed. And I just listened to one, I think it's episode 44 or something on polio. And oh my gosh, is it moving?
I've got a happy dollar for my brother Gary, who is a month post kidney transplant, and he seems to be doing well and improving. No signs of rejection. So that's just a real incredible journey to be on. And very, very grateful.
Wonderful.
I'll put in $1 because I found the happy dollar link.
Yay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd be glad to put in $5 for, I don't know, fresh tomatoes. In our breakout room, we were discussing the current harvest. There's nothing like fresh tomatoes. So, fresh tomatoes.
Wonderful. Boy.
Make sure I'm not muted. So I'm really happy to announce that this past week I graduated from a program that I have been attending both initially in person and then online. Completed my training as what is known as an end-of-life sacred passage doula, also known as a death doula. And maybe I should sometime do a Rotary thing on that, because I bet half of you are going, what? What are you doing? Anyway, it's been quite the journey for me. I'm honored and humbled to now be able to work with people at the end of life to assist with peaceful departures. And there's so much more to that I'll just stop there. But I'm happy about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a wonderful idea.
I have a happy dollar. In celebration of Joy's journey, I have a brother that is doing the same thing. So a happy dollar celebrating Joy.
Oh, let's talk. Sandy, let's talk.
Anyone else? Last chance to share your happiness. Well, I'm sure we all have something, but we'll move on and we can save it for later if something comes to mind. We're early to the game here, guys, which is good. We have more time for questions for Brandy. So is Jerry here to introduce Brandy?
No.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, I can do it though. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So Brandy Hamilton is the Director of Community Service and has been with Life Design since 2006. She has over 20 years of experience in working with individuals with disabilities. She has been very involved with the Monroe Owen Community Transition Council and coordinating mock interview days in collaboration with other agencies. She recently became a certified employee support professional through National ASPE certification. She enjoys working with people and seeing them find their passions. I've actually known Brandy for several years because we had a placement from Life Designs in our Community and Family Resources department, and enjoy that, having that person there for a long time. I know Brandy does a lot of good work, and I look forward to hearing her talk more about it. Brandy.
All right, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. It's always weird to hear you, hear somebody else talk about you, right? So thank you for having me today as your speaker. Leslie, thank you for inviting Vida. I appreciate that. Vida and I go way back. She actually hired me back in 2001 as a summer camp counselor. And then she hired me again in 2006 on a joint venture, and that's kind of how I got my start here at Life Design. So I look to Vida as one of my role models and mentors in this field. So her and I go way back, so I appreciate you inviting her. Hi, Vida. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about Life Design. So for those of you that don't know about us or what we do, I'm going to share a little bit about who we are and what I specifically do here at Life Designs and helping individuals with disabilities. So I really enjoy helping people find their passions. I'm very passionate about what I do and the people I serve. So I just want to help other people find their passion as well. So I've got a little PowerPoint I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to click over that now so you don't have to see my face here. So let me share. Okay, so gonna click through here. There we go. So for those of you that don't know, our mission is to partner with and promote independence for individuals with disabilities. We envision communities that support all people, where each person is valued and where everyone belongs. So that's kind of the crux of what we do. We were established in 1981 as Options for Better Living, the same year that Crystal was established. And then Crystal and Options merged together in 2012 and became Life Design. So we've had, several years for everyone to get used to that new name, but there's still a lot of people in our community that don't know us as Life Designs. They still kind of think of us as Options or Crystal. We serve individuals across Bartholomew, Brown, Greene, Lawrence, Monroe, Morgan, and Owen counties. And we serve a little over 350 individuals across all of those counties in various services. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what those services are. So we offer residential services. So we have supported living, where individuals live in their home, either by themselves or with a roommate. We have group home living, where individuals might live in a situation where they have 4 or 5 or 6 people living together. And then we offer respite services. So individuals that still live at home and their parents need a break, we can provide staffing to go in there and help them. So anything from, grocery shopping to bill paying to accessing community, those are some of the things that our staff can help with. We also have housing. So we have the Covey Lane Project, which is here in Bloomington. We have McKinley, which is in Columbus. And then we have Crawford 1 and 2 here in Bloomington as well. And most recently, we were involved with some apartments with Switchyard. And so we have been in works with them to provide some housing for individuals with disabilities over there at Switchyard. And we also have some nurses on staff that provide wellness and healthcare coordination. So sometimes people don't always think of us as having nurses on staff, but we also have individuals that have some health issues that we need to monitor. Services that I oversee would include the community services. So that includes employment, pre-employment transition services, community integration services, and our Life Mentor program. So something that we often are recruiting volunteers for our Life Mentor. So the picture on the bottom that you can see, that's Joel and Alex. And Joel is one of our Life Mentors. He was actually our very first one that we got set up. And him and Alex have so much in common, and it's amazing to see the things that they've been doing, going out and riding bikes, going to the movies, going to the drive-in. Joel has taken Alex up to the Brickyard for a race. And so it's just really neat to see the bonds that people are creating through the mentor program. And then employment services, that's an area that I'm going to talk a little bit more about today in depth, and some of the things that we do in employment services. So right now here in Bloomington, I have 5 employment consultants, and then I have 3 employment consultants in Columbus. So we can come in and help individuals find their passion and find that job that they've been wanting. And we do that through a process called discovery, where we get to know them and what they want to do, and help match them with a job out in the community. So some other things that we might offer as a service to our clients that come to us for employment would be a work experience. So we would set something up with an employer where they can do an internship or work experience. Informational interviewing, where they go in and ask people about their job and how they can get into that kind of job. Job shadowing, job trials, where they can go in and just watch someone do a job, or maybe try a job out for an hour or 2 or a day. We assist individuals with resumes, interview coaching. As we all know, interviews are never easy when you have to be in front of someone answering questions. So we do a lot of coaching around interviews. We provide supports to individuals on the job. So if they need help with their onboarding, maybe paperwork, HR, that sort of thing, we can help with on-the-job supports as well. Person-centered planning. So that goes back to, what does the person want and what is the person interested in doing? Those are things that we can help with. And then also some disability awareness training. Last year, Stonebelt and us partnered together to do some disability awareness training to employers, and that was a really neat partnership where we came together to an employer who employed individuals that receive services from both Stonebelt and or Life Designs, and we came together and did a presentation to an employer about that. So it was really a unique opportunity that we had. So for some of you that aren't in the realm of individuals with disabilities and employment, I just printed some statistics, or put in some statistics from the Bureau of Labor Services, and wanted to share that with you. In 2019, 19.3% of people with disabilities were employed, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In contrast, the employment population ratio for persons without a disability was 66.3%. So there's a pretty big discrepancy there, and our job is really to help those individuals with disabilities find employment so we can increase that number. And then the unemployment rate also for an individual with and without a disability declined from the previous year to 7.3% for individuals with disabilities and 3.5% for individuals without disabilities. So that's another pretty big gap in that number as well. So our job is to really help individuals find that employment and stay in that job. And then also, a lot of times people think of individuals with disabilities, there's always that stereotype or that stigma that we have to get over, but a lot of individuals with disabilities make really good self-employers. And so sometimes, they'll have their own business, whatever that may be. And sometimes we realize that as we're helping them, we might realize, wow, you really might do well on your own with your own business. So employed people with disabilities are more likely to be self-employed compared to those without a disability. And then, of course, I just want to touch on the highlights of hiring people with disabilities, return on investment. And so this information came from our national organization called APSI. And I just wanted to share some figures from them. Return on investment is huge for employers. So they see a $28 average return for every dollar invested in any accommodation they provide. And most accommodations don't cost anything, and most of the time they cost less than $500 if there are any accommodations that they have to pay for. That's something employers are always concerned about, is how much this is going to cost me. Customers with disabilities and their families and associates represent $3 trillion in the market. So it's a huge market that a lot of people don't think about. And additionally, 87% of customers say they prefer to patronize businesses that hire employees with disabilities. So, of course, I'm one of those. If I know that there's a business in town that has hired individuals with disabilities, I'm more likely to give them my business. So there's a pretty big market there. And then the turnover rate for employees with disabilities is 8% compared to 45% for other workers. So that's, again, something that we hear a lot from employers is, oh, well, you know, I'm afraid that that they're not gonna make a good employee, or they're not gonna be able to do the job. And so, you know, our job is to really make sure that we make a job match, and we've done our research and we've done our due diligence to make sure they're going to be a good employee, because you never know. Sometimes I've hired people that have not made a staff member, and I wish I would have known that in the interview, and I didn't know. I gave them a chance, and you just never know whether they have a disability or not. And then qualified applicants in 2012, approximately 31% of persons with disabilities aged 21 to 64 had some college or associate's degree, compared to 33% of the same population without. So, you know, there's a lot of individuals that have a lot to offer, and we just ask the employers give them a chance. So now that I've thrown some numbers at you, I want to talk about people. So I've got some stories I want to share with you. So on your screen, you can see Stacy giving you the thumbs up, and I've been honored to know Stacy for several years. And we were happy to help her find a job at McDonald's. She's been there for almost 5 years now. And like many people, when she first learned of COVID, she was really worried about her job. But prior to COVID, she had been talking to her employer about wanting to learn new skills and learn, you know, more than just what she was cleaning the lobby. That was her primary job. So when COVID hit and the lobby closed at McDonald's, she was really concerned, and she called us a few days later, and she was really excited to tell us that she was now an essential employee because she had learned to make the fries. And of course, everybody's got to have their McDonald's fries. And so she was really excited that she still got to work, and she was learning other tasks in the kitchen, and she was able to keep her job. So she's just one of the stories we like to share, especially recently in light of recent events. We like to share Stacy's story. And then you can see Katie there in the middle. She works at McAllister's. So if you've ever been to McAllister's at lunchtime, you may have seen her smiling face. And so we supported Katie in the beginning when she transitioned from high school over to adult services, and we supported her with her job. And now she's doing so well that she doesn't need our support, which is exactly what we want. We want people to be successful on their own and not need our support, but she knows that we're always here if she needs something. But I occasionally will still go in there just to say hi and see her. But she's been there for several years and is a wonderful employee and gets along with everyone. And she just will talk your ear off if you get her going, but remind her to get back to work. And then Crystal, I want to share her story as well, because I don't have a picture of her right now. It's something we need to get, but she's been receiving employment services for quite a while, probably close to 4 years. She had a job at Goodwill, but then had some life circumstances happen and had been unemployed for a while. And she recently, she was one of those that was kind of leaning towards the self-employment side. However, she was able to secure a job with Baxter Healthcare Pharmaceuticals here in Bloomington in quality control to help with vaccines. So she's really excited. She's going to be making an impact on people's lives that receive those vaccines. In her free time, she likes writing on her book series, and she's already had 3 books published, so she's really excited about that. She also loves making jewelry, sewing, painting, and doing photography. She hopes that one day she can use her art skills to make enough money to begin fostering kittens, because she loves cats. And she also wants to become a good writer and eventually do that full time. So she has a unique story because she has had to overcome so many things, but she hasn't let that get to her, and she's persevered through all of that, and now she's working full time. So it's really, I just wanted to take time to, you know, put a face to some of the stuff that I'm talking about. It's always nice when you can hear a story about someone and not just a bunch of statistics and numbers. So I wanted to share some personal stories with you as well. So really, I put my contact information on here as well. So if you need to get a hold of me if you have questions, I'm going to stay after and answer any questions that anyone has. I feel like I talked to 100 miles an hour, and I'm sorry if I went really fast. And then I just want to share a thought that I like to end with. So the real joy in life comes from finding your true purpose and aligning it with what you do every single day. And that was a quote by Tony Robbins. So that ends my presentation, and I'd like to open it up to any questions that anyone has.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
We have Stone Build and Life Designs. Do they duplicate services?
That's a really good question. I would say that we offer similar services. So we offer, we both offer employment services. We both offer residential services. But there are some things that Stonebelt offers that Life Designs does not have, and vice versa. So, we serve some of the same individuals. We have some individuals that maybe get residential services from us where they have staff that help them in their apartment, but maybe they go to Stonebelt during the day for their day services or work or things like that. And so it really goes both ways. So we really work hand in hand together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, if I may. Ms. Hamilton, thank you, or Brandy, if I may, thank you for that presentation. My question is, of the $28 average return for every dollar that was invested, actually $28.69, that's invested by the employer, does that figure include salary and benefits that's provided by the employer? And in my thinking, if it is, then that would make your average return a little bit higher, actually. And a follow-up question with that is, are your employment services part of your housing services? Are they connected? So do your residents at like Crawford and those others, are they part of this employment program as well?
Okay, so let me,
sorry,
I'm going to answer
that was a lot. I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to answer your second question first, and I'll come back to the first one. So on the second question about employment services, so individuals that receive our employment services are referred to us through an agency called Vocational Rehabilitation. So that's a state and federally funded agency that is all across, the country. But here in Indiana, it's called Indiana Vocational Rehabilitation Services. And so all of our referrals for employment services will come through, typically through vocational rehabilitation initially. And then there are some, so they're our funder. So they're the ones that pay us to work with those individuals to help them find employment. And then if the individual receives state funding through maybe waiver services, then we can also get funding from their waiver to provide ongoing supports for that employment. So initially they would need to come through an agency called Vocational Rehabilitation first. So individuals from Crawford, if they wanted our services, they would go to Vocational Rehabilitation and then get a referral, and they get to choose who they want to work with. So they could choose us, they could choose Stonebelt, they could choose another agency for employment services. So does that help answer that second question?
It does, very well, thank you.
Okay, now the first question is a little trickier because I took that statistic from our national employment group. it's called APSI, and so the website is listed there. And I don't know, I'm gonna call on Betta and see if she can help me answer that question or explain it any more. Betta, what do you think as far as that number? Do you think that would include the salary for that individual on that return of investment?
Brandy, I was thinking, boy, I'm glad I didn't get that question. I don't know the answer, Jim. I'm not sure if it includes the benefits along with the wages.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just wondering.
Yeah, it's a good question. I might have to dig a little deeper on that one. So thank you.
I have a question to Brandy. Brandy, thank you for coming our way today. Appreciate your representation. Could you run into the condition which you qualify individual to enroll in your program? And what are the logistics from the time you identify the individual until they are fully enrolled?
Well, I'm going to give the "it depends" answer on that. So any individual with a disability could go to vocational rehabilitation to see if they're eligible. So vocational rehabilitation would determine eligibility for services. So if they're qualified for vocational rehabilitation services, then they would get to choose the provider they want to work with, which could be us as one of the providers. And so really, for the individual, it depends on how long. Some people, it's very quick. They're able to secure employment very quickly. And then other individuals, it really takes a long time because there might be other issues that we have to work through with that individual before securing employment. So maybe they're dealing with housing issues, maybe they're homeless, and so we're helping them find the right connections for housing supports. Maybe they need to get on Social Security, maybe they need food stamps. So there's all these other factors sometimes that play a part in finding employment, and we just happen to help them navigate through some of those things. And then once they're employed, it also depends on how quickly they, some individuals, their employer never knows we're involved. We just help them on the backside of things, resumes, interview coaching, things like that. And so the employer, interestingly enough, sometimes the person's never disclosed they have a disability, so they don't know we're involved, where other times we're involved from the very beginning and we help the individual through the whole process and we're there with them all the time. So it really just depends on the person and their individual circumstance. I think that's what I love most about what we do, is that everyone is so different and not everyone's the same. Did that help answer that?
Thank you much, yes.
So I have a question. So I wanted to know if there's a waiting list for clients needing your services, and also what might be some challenges your organization faces during its operations.
So currently we do not have a wait list. So we're fortunate in that. I have enough staff right now to provide services to everyone who is needing it. Now, during this time, things have slowed down. We've had several individuals decide to close their case due to one reason or another from COVID, but we've also had success too. We've had several people get jobs during this time as well. So it's really kind of that balancing act. Challenges, there's I'd say individual challenges with each person and trying to figure out what those challenges are. Maybe it's a transportation issue. Maybe it's, again, maybe they need to get on food stamps. Maybe they need housing. But transportation tends to be one of the biggest challenges for individuals. And, you and I, we can jump in our car and go to work every day, but the individuals we support, sometimes they don't have that luxury. So transportation is a huge challenge.
I have a question. Can you hear me, Brandy? This is Susan. I work at Ivy Tech, and I was really happy to hear your comments today. So I imagine that I'm not alone when I speak about an initiative that Ivy Tech has going. I imagine there are lots of institutions that are doing this as well, but we are paying particular attention to institutionalizing how we approach diversity, equity, and belonging within the culture of our campus. And I'm curious to know if you had some insights in how we can be better at that, right? How we can be inclusive not only in populations, but in our understanding of the larger issues.
Absolutely, because I'm so glad to hear that Ivy Tech is taking on that initiative and taking that line of thought, because a lot of times when you think about diversity, individuals with disabilities are not included in that conversation. And so it's great to hear, someone saying, yes, we want to hear from that side of things, the disability community, about inclusivity and diversity, because individuals with disabilities have a lot to offer. And just because they happen to have a disability doesn't mean that they're not capable of doing certain things. And so I think, you know, the main thing is just educating yourself and Ivy Tech getting educated and involving individuals in this field on those conversations and thinking about us. So I appreciate you saying that, you know, that's the way that you want to go. But I think the main thing is just to get individuals like myself and Bida and Leslie and our CEO, Russ, involved in on those conversations so that we can bring that to the table as well to talk about how individuals with disabilities can help with that diversity and inclusivity.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question for you too, Brandy. Do any of your clients have, in addition to disability, have issues with alcohol or drugs? And are you and your team equipped to provide help to people in those categories?
That's a really good question. It's not something we see a lot. Years ago, Centerstone was providing employment services. So a lot of individuals with substance abuse or addictions would utilize Centerstone for employment services. But we're seeing a little bit more of that. I would say that's one area that I would love for my staff to have some more training and support in. But I think we're fortunate in this community to have some of those resources. So I'd say we definitely utilize those if that's necessary for an individual. It's not the population we work with mostly, but we have seen that, yes.
Thank you.
Lynn, do you have a question?
Yes, actually, I wanted to make a comment. We talked about this before the big meeting. One World Catering employs two of Life Design's clients. One of them lives in a group home, and I'm actually not sure where Patty lives. But two of the most wonderful employees, and it's been a really great experience for all of us in the staff to have two employees that do a better job than what we consider to be our regular hourly staff at the tasks that they do. Responsible, highly skilled, kind, gets along with all staff. We've all made great friends with Cheyenne, who likes to talk a lot. And it's been a great experience at One World Catering to work with Life Designs.
Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate that. And you know, the other individual you mentioned there, that's somebody who receives some services from Stone Belt, but employment services from Life Design. So it's one of those situations where, you know, someone can get services from both agencies. They don't have to just pick one or the other. So,
Sally?
So now we know that people with disabilities work both at One World Catering and McDonald's, but is there a comprehensive list? This is a tricky question. Is there a comprehensive list of local businesses that employ people with disabilities? In other words, how do we know?
That's a really good question. And I would say there's probably not a list somewhere. Not something that we keep. Now there are employers that we highlight. I would say, if I can speak for us, I don't know about Stone Belt, but I know that we will highlight employers on our website through either our newsletter or in just our kind of general communications. But I wouldn't say that there's kind of a comprehensive list that we've created. Bida, do you want to add to that?
If you don't mind, excuse me, I would just add Stone Belt does keep a list of the employers that have hired folks through our agency or with support of our agency. And we use that as a marketing tool for other employers to show them who is hiring. And we also use that with our clients so they can know some of the places we have connections. It's hard to keep it updated because that changes all the time. And in some of our partnerships, we have had some discussions about whether we could combine and maybe, I don't know, like CCA does stickers for accessibility, you know, stickers of employers wanting to acknowledge that they hire people with disabilities. So.
Great, thanks, Bida.
I have a question. What is the relationship? Do you hear me?
Yes. Nope. Nope. Not now.
So, oh, hold on one second. Let me unmute. Here we go.
Yeah.
Charlotte, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Okay, my question was, what is the relationship between Life Designs and Crawford Houses?
So Life Designs was a partner in building the Crawford apartments. And so essentially we were acting as the landlord. And we have also now contracted with another company to help with the property management of Crawford. But we were involved in the building of and getting that project started with Crawford Housing. And so individuals at Crawford have to have experienced chronic homelessness, but they also have to have a disability. So those were two of the big criteria to gain housing at Crawford.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sandy?
I would just like to talk about how Life Designs is so good at accompanying their clients in for services and experiences. We have had so many wonderful women come through my sister's closet that received a referral from Life Designs. One of them, a relationship we've had for a year and a half now that we just placed into a really, really great job for her 2 weeks ago. And you know, they always feel like they are not walking down this path of employment by themselves. And I have got to tell you, that is just remarkable when I compare that to all the other organizations that use our voucher system. I find it extremely admirable because it's hard enough to find a job for anybody. It's extremely intimidating. If you feel like you've got something, you know, that is different about you that might make people consider that maybe you're not the best choice. And I just feel so strongly about our partnership with Life Designs. I can't say enough about it.
Oh, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. I know that we have a great partnership, and I personally wish that there was my sister's closet in every community like there is here. We are very, very fortunate to have this in our community. Very fortunate. So thank you for all you do.
Are there any further questions for Brandy?
When Brandy, you told us about the challenges for your people who you're working with, your clients that you're working with. What's your biggest challenge as your, you know, in your role? Stumped her.
I'm speechless. I would say probably my biggest challenge would be being able to spread my time evenly across everyone that I supervise. I think maybe any manager could probably say that, but I feel like that's one area that I really struggle with, is giving all my staff the attention that they need. Yeah, I would probably say that's my biggest challenge as a supervisor.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Brandy, for being here today. Wonderful program, and we're just so lucky to have you in the community to serve our fellow Bloomingtonians who need your services. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
In honor of your presentation today, we will be making a donation to Teachers Warehouse. If we might have a few follow-up questions after we close our meeting, do you have a few minutes to say? Okay. So with that, I will introduce Sally Gaskell to tell us about next week's program.
Next week, our speaker will be Alexandra Starry. I think that's the pronunciation. It could be Starry. It's S-T-A-R-R-Y. I'm going with Starry. She's our Global Grant Scholar, and her program is titled From Indiana to Lesotho to Germany, What's Next?
Thanks, Sally. That's going to be a really wonderful program, as usual. And to close our meeting, we will recite the four-way test, +1 together. Of the things we think, say,
And
do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better relationships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?